Hello and welcome back once again to After the Credits. So, it's been a couple weeks since this movie opened, but I finally got around to seeing Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, in case you couldn't tell by the title card, right? So, I'm actually glad I kind of waited, because there was only like me and 4 other people in the theater today, and for some reason I got into the movie for free. I don't know how that happened, but yeah, I didn't have to pay for it, so that's always a plus. What did I think of the movie? It was really slow. It didn't really need to be as long as it was. They could have trimmed a lot of the fat out. They tried to pad out too many scenes and make them overly dramatic, and it's like, can you just move on already? You could have told this in like 20 seconds and you spent 4 minutes on it. Overall, though, I didn't not like it. I think it could have been a lot more enjoyable than what it was. I can sort of see what people mean about it being too dark and all those comments that people have been making, but overall it was trying to tell a story, and I think it went where it needed to tell that story, but the length of it and how much they padded out each little section kind of hurt it, because then like the climax at the end, they kind of rushed through really fast, and it's like, you could have spent a lot more time on this than all the other crap you were putting in. I mean, this was a 2.5-hour movie. Maybe, I think it was like 2 hours and 40 minutes or something like that. And it really didn't need to be. And if you were going to have it that long, a lot more of it should have been the battle and not setting up the story. Like, I understand they're trying to set up what each of the characters is doing and why they're in the situations they're in, but you could have sped it up a little bit and still had plenty of room to fit everyone in, and you could have done a little bit more with leading up to the future of what's going to be Justice League. Overall, though, like I said, I didn't not like it. I don't want to say I enjoyed it, but I wasn't pissed off coming out of it. I wasn't like, oh man, that was a waste of my time, or that was stupid, or anything like that. I was just like, it's a movie. Another thing I've been hearing a lot of people gripe about was Lex Luthor, and I sort of agree with it, but at the same time, I'm not 100% against it. Jesse Eisenberg, I think for this scenario, was too young. I mean, like, facially, he's too young as far as trying to play Lex Luthor. I think he's only in like his 20s or early 30s, probably about my age. But he still has like that Leonardo DiCaprio baby face, so it's kind of hard to take him seriously in a more adult role. They are doing the Lex that's trying to carry on after his father has passed, and he's kind of being dumped into his father's legacy, and that's why he's kind of twitchy and things like that. That I've heard other people complain about, how he was like, he was really twitchy in certain parts, and kind of like mutters things and rambles, and people kind of look at him like, what? And then he's like, oh no, I mean, blah blah or whatever. So I can that's because he's trying to take on that role from his father. I can kind of understand why they used a younger guy and why he's the way that he is, but at the same time, considering how old Batman and Superman are, they should have went with a more adult Lex Luthor. As far as who I would have had play it, I don't know. But, that's kind of my take on him. Ben Affleck as Batman. Honestly, I didn't quite care for him as Batman, but I thought he made a decent Bruce Wayne. Kevin Smith has been known for saying that anyone can play Batman, anyone can put on the suit and be Batman. You have to find someone that can actually be Bruce Wayne to be in these types of movies, and I think he did a good job as Bruce Wayne. Batman, though, just a lot of his characteristics, I know they're going off the Frank Miller Batman, which is an older Batman, more grizzled, doesn't care anymore, isn't as opposed to killing as he used to be, isn't hesitant to pick up a gun, although the point when you see him holding the gun in the trailer, it's not just a normal gun, it's actually a projectile launcher, which is shooting out gas cartridges, basically. So, he's not actually shooting a gun, but, like, if he's fighting with someone who has a gun, and he, like, grabs their arm and the gun goes off and, like, kills, like, 4 other people, he's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. It's like they were caught in the crossfire. And he doesn't seem too remorseful about it as long as they're bad guys and not, like, innocent people. That seems to be where he draws the line is, the death of the innocent, which is why he's kind of against Superman to begin with, is because a lot of innocent people got killed during the fight with Zod. And, it's like with that kind of power, where's the limit? And because he's the older, grizzled Batman who's seen a lot of things happen, he's kind of fearful of that. However, I understand, like I said, they were using the Frank Miller Batman, but honestly, when you're building the Justice League, you don't really need an older Batman, or you don't need the old grizzled Batman, because when Justice League was formed, Batman and Superman were still roughly in their 40s. They're roughly like the same age, and they were still kind of learning. The whole reason they came together was because doing it on their own wasn't working anymore. And the Frank Miller Dark Knight Rises Batman, or Dark Knight Returns, whatever the book was called, Dark Knight Returns, that Batman is, I think, was in like his late somewhere between his 60s and 80s. It's been a while since I actually read it. Well, if he was 80, he probably wouldn't be able to be doing it anymore. So I think he was in his like late 60s in that book, because he's in his 80s or 90s in Batman Beyond. So it would have had to have been before that, because he can still walk around. So yeah, trying to play off of that older Batman, I don't think was necessary. But like I said, I can understand why they used that, because they needed an epic fight, and that is one of the most epic Batman-Superman fights. But they could have still had him be a young, fresh Batman and go from there with the same aspects of the fight. What else? Alfred was pretty cool. He's not a super old Alfred. He's still kind of young. Technological genius, just like Bruce Wayne. He helps him actually build a lot of his stuff, which relates to certain versions of Alfred that we've seen in the past, where he's actually helps Batman build stuff. But this one's actually young enough that he can still do it, and doesn't look weird being this old geezer, like building all this Batmobile and other machinery and stuff. This one's actually probably in his 60s-ish, or maybe not even that old, maybe his 50s, and still makes, he's still able to do all this stuff. And overall, I thought the actor that got to play the part played it pretty well. Probably one of the more enjoyable parts of the movie. Wonder Woman, I can't really judge Wonder Woman. She's only in the movie a little bit, and like I said, the climactic battle at the end where she actually comes in and starts doing something was so short, it was kind of hard to really judge her. I will say that in the battle with Doomsday, she did the most amount of damage to him. She was the one constantly fighting him. Batman just kind of ran and hid because he couldn't fight him in his normal suit. I guess. I mean, he barely held up against Superman in his mech suit, and now he's back in his normal suit, and he's got to fight Doomsday, so he's just kind of like standing back and kind of watching, which, again, like I said, I don't think Batman was portrayed as well as he could have been, but Bruce Wayne was portrayed really well, or fairly well, I should say, at least for the Bruce Wayne that they were going for in this story. But yeah, like I was saying, with the Wonder Woman, she did a lot of the work in the battle, held her own against Doomsday. As far as the actress they had playing her, I think there were better choices, but at the same time, she didn't do that bad of a job. We'll see where it goes with her movie. Doomsday. Let's talk about Doomsday. God, he looked like shit. For everyone that made fun of Parallax in the Green Lantern movie looking like a giant shit cloud. Doomsday in this movie looked like a walking piece of shit, honestly. When he first starts out, he's just like this really smooth, like brownish gray turd looking monster, and then like every time he gets attacked and he retaliates with these bursts of energy is when all his bone structure starts to grow out of him, which is in line with his origin about the bone structures growing every time he rebuilds himself. But yeah, I honestly don't know which is a more convincing ship monster, the one from Dogma, Parallax from the Green Lantern, or Doomsday. They're all kind of in the running for which one literally looks like poop. Yeah, I think they could have done a lot better with that. If you don't believe me, I believe in my liked videos, there's a fan-made film of the death of Superman, where they digitally alter one of the Hulk films to make him look like Doomsday, and that is done so much better than what appeared on this screen. So yeah, go give that guy some credit. So what all happened in the movie? Well, do I really need to tell you? We start out with Bruce Wayne's parents dying, which we've seen how many countless times now, and didn't really need to see it again. We know how he becomes Batman. We know he's been established for a while as Batman in this universe, so why are we going back through this? Other than to solely reestablish that his mother's name was Martha. Even when he goes back to the graveyard later as an adult and he's just putting flowers on the grave, they focus on his mother's tombstone and kind of ignore his father's tombstone. So it's like constantly hinting this thing about Martha. His mother's name was Martha. His mother's name was Martha. And if you don't know already, that does come back into play later in the movie. There's actually a meme going around on Facebook that I saw where it kind of jokes about his mother's name being Martha being why they become friends, and realistically it kind of is. And then it cuts to was it a Step Brothers movie or something with Will Ferrell, and can't think of the other guy's name. You know how they became like best friends, and then it's on the internet. Go look for it. The one thing I will say about Bruce Wayne's parents dying in this one, it's actually one of the best representations I've ever seen of his parents dying. Just about every other representation has them walking down the alley, the guy comes up and pulls the gun, and then the parents just kind of freeze and get shot, and without doing anything, which always kind of bugged me. It's like you have your son standing there, why are you just going to stand there? And then it's like other movies have been like, oh, they were trying to be cooperative and give the guy what he wanted, and they got shot anyway. This representation actually shows Thomas Wayne kind of like push his wife and his son behind him and kind of defend them. And then at one point he goes after the guy's gun and gets shot because of that. And then he goes down, and then it actually shows Martha Wayne actually stepping in front, again trying to defend Bruce from this guy. And the guy kind of comes in at her, and when he gets close to her, her pearl necklace actually hooks on the gun, which I don't think has ever been represented before, and him firing the gun and the chamber kind of kicking back is actually what snaps the string of pearls and why they go spilling all over the street. Other times it's been shown as he just kind of grabs it and pulls. And then it shows them both kind of laying on the ground dying. It's not just like an instant death like in others. It actually shows them kind of laying there looking at each other, and Thomas saying, Martha. And again, it's just to reiterate his mother's name is Martha. But honestly, like I said, it's one of the best representations of them dying that I've seen, where others is just like, oh no, there's a guy with a gun, bang, bang, fall down dead. So I'll give it credit for that. Then, of course, we cut to the alternate view of the Superman and Zod fight, where they're fighting through the city and everything's getting demolished, and Bruce Wayne is rushing to try and get to Metropolis to evacuate Wayne Tower or Wayne Enterprises, whatever building is in Metropolis, or at least the Metropolis branch of Wayne Enterprises. And of course he doesn't make it in time, so then he's kind of vengeful against Superman because of all the innocent people that died. he goes on this warpath. Alfred tries to talk him down a couple times, and it's just not happening. Then, they kind of meet up with Lex Luthor, and he's kind of like doing his thing, and Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent meet, and it's basically everything you've seen in the preview. It's just take all of that preview, and just stretch every second of that out by about 10 minutes or more until it reaches 2 hours and 40 minutes, and then you have the movie. So they have their confrontation, and Superman's like, I don't want to get into this with you, stand down, and if I see you again, we're going to have to do something about this, and Batman kind of calls him on it. He's like, yeah, well, here I am, so... And Superman's actually going to ignore the challenge when Bruce kind of throws it out there, or Batman throws it out there, but then Lex Luthor kind of forces his hand to where, he's like, if you don't kill the Bat, someone you love is going to die. So he has to go fight Batman, and at first he's like, I'll try talking to him, or he's telling Lois, I'll try talking to him, see if I can get him to help me instead of fight me. He goes there, Batman doesn't want to listen to him, and Batman attacks him first. And instead of kind of standing down and being like, no, wait, listen, I'm trying to tell you what's going on, at which point Batman probably would have listened if he sees that you're not putting up a resistance. Superman doesn't do that. He starts fighting back, so of course Batman keeps fighting back. It comes down to Batman having the upper hand, and then he finally listens to Superman, or actually he doesn't really listen to Superman, he more listens to Lois, who kind of shows up at the last minute. And through her, he kind of agrees to help Superman. So they go to take down Lex Luthor, and that's when Doomsday shows up, and then they're kind of like, oh shit, things just got serious. Luthor's more of a threat than we thought. We got to deal with this bigger problem. Then Wonder Woman just kind of shows up out of nowhere. I mean, like I said, she was in the movie briefly before to establish that she existed, but then she kind of shows up, and Batman knows who she is, so that whole thing about, is she with you? No, I thought she was with you, is kind of, unless it's him making a quip, it's kind of pointless, because only one of them actually knew who she was, or what she was. Like I said, she does most of the battle with Doomsday. They finally end it. But yeah, so if you've ever actually read or seen any adaptation of what happened when Superman fought Doomsday originally, you'll know the outcome of this movie, how it wraps up, which, again, is something they've done before in other movies. So I've kind of spoiled it without directly spoiling it. If you don't know, don't look it up. Go watch it. And then it kind of ends with them talking about uniting the Seven, or, well, they don't really say that they're seven, they're just kind of like, we need to find the others with abilities. Now, I remember them saying they were going to unite the Seven, but they've only actually shown 3 others in this, and they're very small clips. One of them being the Flash, one being Aquaman, and one being Cyborg. There is one point where, back before they actually fight, when Bruce Wayne's still kind of going through all his stuff, trying to find a way to take down Superman, he has a dream, or so he thinks, of somebody appearing in the room in kind of this ball of lightning, and they're kind of like, trying to tell him that Lois Lane is the key, and Bruce kind of looks at him like, what are you talking about? And he's like, am I too soon? Did I come back too soon? And then he vanishes. And because of all the lightning and stuff that was around him, I honestly couldn't tell who the character was supposed to be. He had like a red face mask, so at first I thought he was the Flash, because the Flash kind of generates electricity when he runs, and he can time travel. But then after I was sitting there watching the movie, I thought about it for a minute, and I remembered that there was a hint in Man of Steel to Booster Gold, who is from the future. And I was like, was that Booster Gold? Because I don't remember him having red in his costume, but it looked like somebody wearing like this kind of mech suit, which I guess could kind of fit with Booster Gold. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, having red in the outfit is why I originally thought it was the Flash. So it was either the Flash or Booster Gold, but based on the look of the face, it didn't look like it was the same guy that they depicted as being the Flash in the little cutscene that they had of him. So yeah, I'm not sure which way that's going, but it's one of those two. If anyone knows for sure, let me know down there. Because if that was Booster Gold, that's actually kind of cool that they're setting up for a future thing. But yeah, so as far as uniting the 7, they've only shown 6. They got Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg. And I don't know which way they're going to go with who the 7th member is going to be, if they're going to go Green Lantern or... I heard they're not going Martian Manhunter on this one. Most likely it'll be Green Lantern or possibly... the only other persons I can think of that it could possibly be would be one of the Hawks, either Hawkman or Hawkgirl, depending on which storyline you're going with. Or, in the new 52 continuity, it could be Shazam, but I didn't see anything of that, so I'm thinking it's probably going to be... I know they do got another Green Lantern movie scheduled for some time in the future, so it's probably going to be him. They are depicting Cyborg, Wonder Woman, Flash, and Aquaman as metahumans, where Green Lantern wouldn't necessarily be a metahuman, as he is someone who just happens to have this power ring. Martian Manhunter would be an alien, which would kind of fall in with Superman being an alien. Shazam, I think that would be kind of cool to see a live-action Shazam, which I heard they were going to do eventually. But yeah, at this point, I'm not 100% sure who they're going to do as the 7th. I think they've mentioned which one they're going to use in some article, but I honestly can't remember it off the top of my head. So it'll be interesting to see. As far as a star rating on this one, what would I give it? Like I said, overall it wasn't a bad movie. I can understand why people said it was really dark and needed more like lighthearted moments and it really didn't need any comedy. It was meant to be a dark film. I think the reason everyone said it was so dark and needed some more lighthearted moments was because of how much it was stretched out and how much time they spent on each thing, where had they sped it along it wouldn't have seemed quite as dark. And overall the timing on it just really killed it, when you could have been spending that time either introducing more of the other characters that are going to be coming down the pike, not necessarily like having them in the movie, but you know, kind of like discussing them a little bit more, or giving Wonder Woman a little bit more time on screen, there's basically 2 big fights and then one kind of midway fight, so like 3 major fights in the movie, and they could have spent more time on those had they gotten through things a little bit quicker and set up things a little bit quicker. So again, that kind of hurts it. So overall, I think I'm going to have to give this one just a 3. It's, you know, it's a pretty middle of the road movie for what it is. It could have been so much better. Yeah, just had they worked on it a bit more, cut out a lot of the padding, spent a little bit more time on the fights or establishing additional characters, as opposed to spending so much time on Batman trying to find ways of dealing with Superman. And there's a lot of like political debating about Superman's powers and all that, which you see in the trailer as well. They spent, and that's kind of to establish Lex Luthor's role in the film, but at the same time, that's a lot of fat that could have been trimmed out. They could have been like, you know, they could have set it up at the beginning, then took it to the resolution at the end of that segment, but they kept cutting back and forth to this political crap. And it's like, we don't need this. You've established what's going to happen. There's going to be an outcome. Just get to the outcome. So yeah, honestly, I think the pacing is really what hurt this the most. Unfortunately, because of that, Suicide Squad is now having a lot of reshots done, and I heard they're adding a lot more jokes into Aquaman, and just they're like scrambling at DC because a few people had some negative things to say about this, and like, oh, we got to fix it. And it's like, just fix the future. Don't worry about this. You got Suicide Squad done. Let it stand on its own. So yeah, I just see DC really screwing this up in the long run. I don't think they'll be able to keep up with Marvel is doing, like, this whole cinematic universe. They're gonna end up pulling the plug and bailing on it at some point and rebooting it again, which I would really hate to see, because I'm kind of interested where this is going, but at the same time, they need to do better than what they did. A movie that I should realistically be giving like a 4.5 star rating to, I'm giving a 3. And it's basically just cut and dry movie, middle of the road. It is what it is, and there's no going back from that now. Speaking of Suicide Squad, though, little bit of a spoiler. Well, not really. It's more of a fan theory, I guess, which is based on another fan theory. A while back, there was some speculation that the Joker might not actually be the Joker. It might be one of the former Robins, possibly Jason Todd. And there's reasons behind that, which relate to the Arkham Knight game. The fan theory's online somewhere if you want to look for it. And there is actually a small, very small thing said by Bruce Wayne in this film that makes me think that might actually be true. Obviously, we established the Robin costume with the paint on it that says, ha ha ha, joke's on you, Batman. But then, at one point, Bruce is talking to Alfred, and Alfred's kind of giving him this lecture about you need to, you need to not go to war with this guy if you don't have to. And Bruce, in retaliation to the comment, kind of throws out how many good guys are left in the world and how many have stayed that way, which kind of makes me think that he was betrayed by somebody, and that might be why he's so rough and gruff, and why he's so bitter towards everything is he was betrayed by someone that he trusted, and that could be Robin becoming the Joker. So I'm kind of leaning towards that fan theory being a little bit true, but that's just kind of off on a tangent, but that was something I did want to mention from the movie. I almost didn't catch it, but then I was like, wait, is he saying that somebody turned? And I was like, oh, so it was just kind of there, so I'm just kind of pointing it out because other people might miss it. But again, that's on a tangent. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this review. Told you what I thought about the movie and all the little parts. Told you basically the premise of the movie. Gave you the star rating. So that's it. 30 minutes later, here we are. Not sure what's coming up next. I know there's one more movie that I'll probably go see tomorrow because that's at the other theater, and tomorrow will be Tuesday, and I can see it cheap, especially since I didn't have to pay to see this one today. Honestly, had I had to pay for it, I wouldn't have been disappointed. Like I said, I didn't hate the movie, but I didn't 100% enjoy it either. It could have been a lot better than what it was. But for the money I paid for it, which, again, if you guys are paying full ticket price, like if I was paying $13 for the ticket or whatever, hell no. Paying the $6 that I have to pay to see it, I wasn't upset that I would have had to pay that, but the fact I got it for free makes it that much better. But yeah, so tomorrow's discount day up at the other theater. There's only the one movie playing up there, so probably after I get off work, I'll go up there and see that. And then I think the only other things playing that I want to see are at the Dollar Theater, and I think out of the 4 that were there, 2 of them have already gone, so I'll probably try to catch the other 2 if I can. If not, then I don't think anything else is coming out till late April. There are a few things I kind of wanted to see, but they're not playing at any of the theaters around here. There's Hardcore Henry, which I guess is a one-night limited showing thing, and it's not at any of the theaters here. And then there were a couple others that are opening like mid-April, which aren't playing here either. So like the next big thing would be like towards the end of April going into May. And then there's a lot of stuff in May that we are getting. So once I get through the stuff at the Dollar Theater, that may be it for the April reviews until May, and I think the first thing in May is a Rift Tracks. So anyway, enough rambling. It's been 35 minutes, so let's wrap this up. Hopefully I can edit a lot of this stuff down to where it's not quite 30 minutes long. If not, hopefully you watched it this far and enjoyed what I had to say and my thoughts on it. Give me your thoughts down there in the comments. Let me know if you agree with me, disagree with me, why you disagree with me, why you agree with me, what your take on it was. Try to keep it as spoiler-free as possible if you can, just because there are people who haven't seen it yet. But yeah, so in the meantime, again, as always, thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, rate, subscribe, and share the video. Links will be in the description, and up here, I pointed the right place this time. And until next time, as always, we'll see you after the credits.